It's an exciting day for UFC fans or MMA fans in general. It's UFC 259. It is a really packed card, and I'll be bringing predictions on the three title fights. I do want to point out that there are a lot of familiar names on the undercard, including Tim Elliott, who's had a title fight, Joseph Benavidez, who's had 4 title fights, Dominic Cruz, which is probably the biggest name on the undercard. Dominic Cruz, multiple-time champion at bantamweight, and he's actually an underdog on this card as far as the betting lines go. So there's so much that we could address, but I just want to look at the 3 title fights today. I will say that UFC 259, in my understanding, is the card that's really all about the challengers. I really think that it's an exciting card for the challengers, and I'm going to be really looking at what all the challengers bring. And I think that we could potentially see all 3 challengers win. That probably won't happen, but still we'll be looking at it, and also looking at the betting lines. The betting lines I found, the first of the 3 championship fights is the bantamweight current male champion, Petr Yan, at -120 versus Aljamain Aljo Sterling at +100. This is the closest. Those are close betting lines. And I'm going to say that Aljamain Sterling has a good opportunity here to win. He's more well-rounded than Petr. That doesn't always mean that he is going to win. Petr has a really great boxing, a little bit of kickboxing, but mainly a boxing style. He's a very good boxer, very good striker. Aljamain has been finished before by strikes, and he's much more of a grappler, jiu-jitsu, wrestling style. He does throw more kicks, I believe, than the champion does. So there's always a chance that he'll get something timed up there. But I think what you're really going to be looking at in this fight is that classic in-between distance. Yan is not the longest fighter in that division, and Sterling is longer than he is. And I think if Sterling can use his kicks to frustrate Yan and keep a distance, and then when Yan comes in to get into close range for boxing, which is really where he's quite good, then Sterling's going to have to chain a takedown or come up with a way to change levels without getting anything too much damage to him. I do think this could be a really competitive and fun fight. I'm going to say I don't see Yan winning by decision. And of course, I might look dumb once this fight is over. But I think the champion is more likely to get a finish. He fights that way. Could he win decision? Absolutely, he could. But I think Sterling's either going to win a decision if he wins, or potentially get a finish as a grappling heavy, great jiu-jitsu. I could see him more than likely winning a decision. If I was putting a prop bet, I would probably go Sterling decision more than a finish. Although if the prop bet's good, I might go for a finish, a submission finish, because I think Sterling has a good opportunity for that. But that's a very exciting. It's great to see the bantamweight having so much talent. I'd love to see Dominic Cruz win his fight tonight, even though he's pushing 40, and make another run at the title. He's always exciting to watch, and it's cool that they put him on the same card. And they usually do that on purpose to line up potential challengers on the same card so they're on the same timetable. The second fight of the night is, I think, super exciting. The odds makers have Amanda Nunes as a -1100 versus Megan Anderson as a +700. You're really starting to look in the range of the respect that Ronda Rousey got. It's understandable, because not only has Nunes beaten Ronda Rousey, she's knocked out Cyborg, and pretty much destroyed everybody, and is the only, and I think this is a big deal, is the only double champ who's actually defended. And there's been, I think now 5 double champs, but she's the only one that actually defended at both weight classes. So that's incredible in and of itself. I am pulling for not only the massive underdog, but I do think that all the challengers have an opportunity to really show themselves well. In many ways, one of the only reasons to really see this going in Megan Anderson's favor, and I was thinking about this, is really based on, if you go back several years, it's really based on the John Jones versus Swedish dude. Hold on. Well, for now, we're going to call him Swedish dude. Alexander Gustafsson. There we go. Doing this from memory. Sorry there, Alexander. But going into that fight, if you may remember, nobody really knew much about him. He was decent, of course, but John Jones was a destroyer of worlds. And all they said was, well, he's tall. And that was really the first time that John Jones fought somebody his height. And obviously, Alexander was an incredible fighter. Could have won that fight, maybe won that fight, but John Jones got the last round, and that really did it for him. I'm kind of remembering that and saying, I'm not counting Megan Anderson out. Is Amanda Nunes the better fighter? Probably. Probably better striker. She also has a good ground game. She knows, she's very smart. She knows when to take the fight to the ground. She's finished fighters with strikes on the ground. That's more her preferred style. I know she has jiu-jitsu, but more preferred style is a ground and pound, which of course will negate the length. But I'm going Megan here. She hasn't had the smoothest of UFC careers. She is 6 feet tall. She's much longer, and she's a true 145er. If you can remember back when Cyborg was at 145, everybody was basically just a big 135, or even they were a 135 that kind of just didn't cut the weight and were kind of undersized 145. This is a true 145. And I'm just thinking that there's a possibility here that size does matter at 6 feet tall. Megan's obviously going to have to keep distance. There's a lot that she's going to have to do. I would like to see her work behind a jab, but also timing knees. Knees behind a jab if Amanda gets reckless. Amanda has incredible striking. She could still outstrike her. If you remember way back, when Randy Couture beat and came out of retirement to beat Tim Sylvia. Tim Sylvia is a giant compared to Randy, and Randy outboxed him on the feet and then grappled him. So obviously there's a lot going on Amanda. But if you remember back when Ronda Rousey was at -1,000, sometimes -2,500, at some point, as far as betting lines goes, putting money on the challenger until they win is what Vegas Dave recommended. If you remember Vegas Dave winning millions when Ronda Rousey lost to Holly Holm. And he had said that, I think, 3 times before that. He had just started putting money on the challenger, knowing that at some point Ronda Rousey was going to lose. And obviously every time she wins at that huge spread, then her spread even gets bigger. So if Amanda wins today against Megan, which she very well may, then the next time it's probably going to even be a bigger spread. So at this point, putting money on Megan probably is a good bet, as long as you are wise with it and don't go overboard on that. But I would like to see a change. Clearly, Amanda has GOAT status, and it would be great to see her continue on her dominance. So that's what I'm looking at for the women's featherweight championship. And hats off to Amanda for actively defending belts in 2 weight classes. Now we're to the main event of the evening, which is a champion versus champion. Super exciting, doesn't happen often, and it is really exciting to see. The 185-pound reigning champ, Israel Adesanya, stylebender, is coming up to fight the very new, this will be his first title fight, title defense for Jan Blachowicz. This is interesting because, as I said, I'm going to make a case for the challengers in all 3 cases. This Israel Adesanya is the challenger, but he's not the underdog. He's at a -230 here on what I found, and Jan is at a +190. Jan is 37 or 38 years old. He actually had a birthday during Embedded. If you watch that, they showed him on Embedded having a birthday. So I think he went from 37 to 38. He's incredibly powerful, does have good grappling, has some nice submissions. They've been really playing a lot of his submission up against the cage, a standing rear naked choke where he was actually in front of his opponent, but then reached behind and choked him out. So that type of creativity and experience could be very good. He is going to be more powerful, stronger, heavier than Israel Adesanya is used to. But obviously, the odds maker sees Israel winning. It's likely the better bet here is that Israel is clearly a better striker. Jan tends, it was a really good fight against Luke Rockhold, who was also coming up. Now, is there a difference between Luke Rockhold and Israel? Sure, of course there is. But at the same time, Luke was a former 185-pound champ coming up to 205, and Jan knocked him out with a hook. He is very good power punching, and Israel is obviously not necessarily used to the power of Jan. Israel is undefeated, which is super exciting at MMA. This is a great fight, but he's not undefeated in kickboxing. If you look back, and he has 75 wins or something, but his last kickboxing fight, he got knocked out very badly. And, sometimes people bring that up. I just bring it up to say that obviously he can be finished. Jan could finish him. Will Jan win a decision? I think if Jan wins a decision, it's going to be the grappling game. Jan is a good grappler. He has MMA grappling. I was watching some of his highlights, and he'll switch to somebody's back and then just kind of trip or drag them down. It's not necessarily shooting double legs across the cage, but I do think he can pose a threat here for Israel. Israel's got great takedown defense because his entire career in MMA, at which he's undefeated, has been people knowing that they could beat him if they'd taken him down. They have taken him down, but they've never beaten him. So I think Israel has a really good case here to win by striking, possibly a finish, more likely a decision. I think Israel is smart, in great shape, and will use a variety of striking techniques to go 25 minutes, unless something really starts to wear on Jan and he can get the finish. Otherwise, I think Jan has a good chance at a decision as well. So this could be pretty late of a day with 3 title fights, all potentially going 25 minutes, but particularly this fight, it could go 25. Jan could grapple heavy on this, and I think if he does, he might get a finish. He's good at submission, so we will see. But I will officially say contenders for tonight. Keep an eye on all the challengers, and especially the champ versus champ. And that is what we'll see happen. And if things are super exciting, and maybe if I'm really right or if I'm really wrong, I might do a recap tomorrow about how the fights went, and we'll have to see. But it's going to be a great card. Tune in and watch UFC 259 tonight.